Jed, we've been talking through it a bit in terms of the delivery and production numbers and energy storage. First, just give me your quick take on the delivery numbers. How big a disappointment from your perspective?
Well, I mean, if you look at it, the disappointment's really with the SX and Cybertruck. So that's a pretty big disappointment. You know, it's a variance of 23%. You know, if you look at the Model 3 and Y, you know, that's basically flat. So, you know, I do think that there's an issue in the higher end vehicles, which might speak to sort of consumer fatigue more than anything else. So that could be fixed with you know, a hatchback or the Model 2. Yeah, so that's how I would read the delivery numbers. Certainly a disappointment in terms of where they came in.
I mean, is your expectation that the fight for market share is going to become a lot more intense given the rise of the Chinese EV makers, in particular BYD?
Yeah, I mean, definitely in Europe. I mean, Europe is probably going to be your battleground between China and the U.S. I think from a U.S. perspective, you know, we don't see that as much of a battleground area. And quite frankly, I think Elon's position with the Trump administration probably helps, you know, from a market share in the U.S.
Yeah. Jenna, you know, while we were sort of trying to get you online here, we were talking a bit about energy storage as a component of the business overall. How important is that? Because it is growing very quickly for Tesla.
I mean, that is the win here today. If you look at the silver lining, you know, energy storage coming in at 11 gigawatt hours, we were at 10.3. We were kind of the high on the street with respect to that. My position is I think the return on invested capital is the greatest in that business. And, you know, quite frankly, I think the demand side for energy storage is much larger than what most people expect. It's not just wind and solar. It's actually to stabilize our grid. And if you look at the trends in AI, where you're going to see the greatest bottleneck is on the physical energy. And so I think that's the silver lining here.
Jed, in terms of the market's evident excitement about Elon Musk's closeness to the incoming administration and what that might mean for the business, can we get specific about it in terms of what types of regulatory relief? There's a lot of talk about how at the federal level, it's really nothing that's constraining things like full self-driving in a particular way. Waymo's doing what it's doing. So I wonder if you can see specific things you would expect to improve on the regulatory front that's going to come to bear at Tesla.
Well, I think when you look at, you know, the timing and the growth, I think you need to separate both a play on XAI and sort of the ability to invest in that side of the business, which I think is just as important as kind of Elon's, you know, position with Doge and what people might be reading into that. Hard to quantify. I mean, if you look at the last administration or the current administration, they were about as negative on Tesla as you could be. And so, you know, I think the potential for relief around autonomy is certainly an area that seems to be a positive. Tough to quantify, you know, how that will impact them.
What about just the running and operation of Tesla? And this comes up every so often just because he runs so many different companies. But now that we see that Doge and the administration is occupying a lot of his time, and we see him a lot at Mar-a-Lago, I mean, people buy the stock for Elon Musk. How much is Elon Musk involved in Tesla?
I think he's still very involved. I mean, I've known Elon for 15 years. I mean, we're not friends or, you know, I've known and had several meetings with him. And I think what you do get with any of Elon's companies is a level of focus that is just, it's a different level than what you get with other companies. I mean, you have engineers that are going to have direct meetings with Elon where he is taking a first principles approach to everything that the companies are doing. And so far, he's been able to manage all of the balls that he has up in the air. So that could change at some point, but right now, you know, his companies are, you know, we used to say they're bringing a machine gun to a knife fight, and I think that is still holds true in terms of the competitive advantage.
Jed, appreciate your time. Thank you.